welcome back to the Mother-Daughter Disney podcast. My name is Amanda, and I'm here with my very lovely mother.
Hello, I'm Jeanette.
Yes, and today we are recording with my cat, so she is all over the place, so we may have to stop recording, so sorry if there's some extra jump cuts. You may also hear the oven in the background because we're making an apple pie. It truly is October now, isn't it? So,
yeah.
I know, right? We're celebrating the fall, finally. But yeah, today's episode is our first in a new segment that we're starting. I feel like we have so many segments now.
I know.
So many types of episodes now that we're doing, which is fun. But yeah, this was inspired by when we did that episode a few weeks ago about what we missed from Disney's past. So this is a little bit of some more Disney history. So today we are going to be deep diving into what my mom's, was this your number one or your number two? I can't remember. Pleasure Island.
Pleasure Island.
I can't remember if there's your number one or
what
number
number
two.
it was.
when you scaled it. So yes, I have done a lot of research.
I think it was number one.
Yeah, I think it was number one, yeah. On Pleasure Island. I will put my links in the description below as well. However, I will admit a lot of this is from Wikipedia. So most of this is from Wikipedia. Thank you to Wikipedia, all the people who gathered all those sources. And I will say too, some of this I'm going to be rereading verbatim because it's a lot easier just to read verbatim than it is just to paraphrase it in weirder words or something like that. So,
right.
But yeah, I'll put the links below. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about Pleasure Island and what is Pleasure Island.
Well, I also have to add in that I've been to Pleasure Island 2 nights way back in 1978. So it'll be a little bit of memory, a little bit of what Amanda reminds me of. But it's another thing, she's going to have all this information. But in the back of my mind, I can remember some of the stuff. And as she talks, I'm sure some of it's going to come up.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm excited to see what you remember and what I go through. Because for me, a lot of this was new since I had never been to Pleasure Island. I didn't really know what it was. So I'll say, what was Pleasure Island? Pleasure Island was an area of what used to be downtown Disney and what is now called Disney Springs. That was a shopping, dining, and entertainment, large area. It opened on May 1st, 1989, and officially closed September 27th, 2008.
Oh, then I had to be there after 1978. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. So
okay.
I may have gone again. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is just when it officially opened. It may have been soft opening or just clubs or something like that.
Must have been when Daddy and I went, not when I went for my honeymoon the first time. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I was alive when Pleasure Island was in operation, but I did not necessarily remember it.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember we never went over there or anything like that.
I think we actually walked through there during the day before it was open,
Yes.
because they used to charge to get in at night. Obviously, once they opened up the clubs and opened up everything, but you could walk through there and go into the shops during the day. So you actually just walk through.
Yeah, so I do vaguely remember that. But yeah, as of present day, all the clubs that were in Pleasure Island have been closed, but some of the retail stores and restaurants continue to remain open. And the area where it was, in downtown Disney is now called The Landing and is a central part of Disney Springs. We'll get all to, we'll deep dive into all of that. All right, so the backstory. What was the story behind Pleasure Island? So the name originates from Walt Disney's 1940 film Pinocchio, and Pleasure Island opened emulating Church Street Station in downtown Orlando, Florida. And at the time, it was a highly successful gated attraction. Like my mom said, you can get into multiple clubs and restaurants for one price. And it is all based around a fictional character named Meriwether Adam Pleasure, and his nickname was the Grand Funmeister. And in the fictional fantasy backstory of him, he was an industrialist and explorer who decided to move his family to Florida and start a new sail-making and yacht construction business on the island during the 1920s through the early 1940s. He was also a member of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, SEA for short, so C. And that is interesting. We'll get to that a bit more, but that kind of leads into what Skipper Canteen is about, the Adventurers Club, then Skipper Canteen. He enjoyed throwing parties for his employees and friends after hours, but in 1941, him and his wife mysteriously disappeared at sea and left all of their holdings to their sons, Harry and Stuart. Unfortunately, his 2 sons flopped real hard at running the company without him, and the island was basically destroyed then in a fictional storm. However, this is where fantasy and reality kind of mix here, because the storm, I say in quotes, that was destroyed by was a very real hurricane that struck Florida in 1955, Hurricane Connie. So that's the storm that is supposedly supposed to destroy the fictional Pleasure Islands. And then the fictional story continues in the 1980s, where there was an archaeological dig that claimed an unlikely success of discovering this entire site. And then eventually Disney would rediscover the ruins of the Pleasure complex, his complex here on the island, and establish a nightclub district to carry on Pleasure's merrymaking spirit, the Adventurers Club, which is one of the clubs that was part of Pleasure Island. And then something else here, this was in the backstory, even though that's actually part of the entertainment, but every night at midnight they would celebrate New Year's Eve with fireworks and a show, and this tradition lasted all the way from 1990 through New Year's Eve 2005. So that was kind of the background of where Pleasure Island originated, where it came from, which makes sense because Disney always loves to do these fun, detailed, fictional stories.
Yeah, I never knew that. Like I said, I went, but at that time I was young and having a good time and didn't care about the backstory.
Right, you're just there. No, for sure. All right, so now let's get into the entertainment. So again, Pleasure Island was mainly a series of clubs and restaurants, but there were some shopping as well. So we're going to get into the main clubs that were there, but also the clubs that used to be there and the clubs that replaced old clubs. So first off, we have Videopolis East. This opened in 1980 and it was playing a new wave of music on a 170 video screen. So a lot of video screens on this. In 1990, it was renamed Cage and it added more progressive music before closing in 1992. It had replaced 8-Tracks. In 1970s and 1980s, it themed dance. Replaced. Hold on.
See, wait a minute. Now, see, that's
Oh
what
yeah,
I
so
mean.
this was replaced by 8-Tracks, a 1970s and 1980s themed club,
Right.
and then 8-Tracks closed when the entire club had
Right.
closed. It had originally opened on December 31st, 1992. So yes, what were you saying?
Oh, no. Okay. I was confused about the dating. Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
So Videopolis East is one of the OG clubs, and then it was replaced by 8-Tracks. But where the Videopolis East was,
used to
8-Tracks
be.
replaced it in 1992. All right, so next up we had Neon Armadillo. This was another original OG club. It featured live country music bands and operated from 1989 to 1998. And then Neon Armadillo was replaced by BET Soundstage, Bet Soundstage, which is a hip hop and R&B dance club operated by Black Entertainment Television, formerly known as Bet Holdings Incorporated. Again, Bet Soundstage opened in 1998 and closed when Pleasure Island closed in 2008. There was a licensing agreement with Bet Holdings Incorporation, and before it was purchased by Viacom, which owned networks such as Nickelodeon, a rival to Disney's own Disney Channel in 2000. So I think that was probably a problem with like the licensing of this place. Another club was Mannequins Dance Club. This was a techno-trance multi-story dance club which featured a revolving lighted dancing floor. The club also featured nightly light shows with synchronized music and live performances by human and in quotes mannequins. And this also opened and then closed when Pleasure Island closed. Do you remember Mannequins?
I remember Mannequins.
There's a lot of photos of Mannequins when I was looking this up online.
I remember Mannequins.
So-
I call it the disco club, but that was Mannequins, yes.
Next up, we have Motion. Motion was a dance club which featured the top 40 music videos. It had opened in 2001, replacing Fireworks Factory. Fireworks Factory was a restaurant, so we'll get to that one.
Yes, Fireworks Factory was the restaurant off on the side. I remember
Yeah,
that.
so Motion replaced that restaurant. Again, we'll get to that in the restaurant section. But Motion closed, again, when Pleasure Island closed. Wild Horse Saloon, a country music dance club and barbecue restaurant. It opened in 1998 to capitalize on the country western dance craze at the time. It was operated by Levy Restaurants and the Gaylord Entertainment Company, which had also operated a Wild Horse in Nashville, Tennessee. They eventually sold their interest in the building back to Disney, and the venue was closed in 2001. Up next, we have the Pleasure Island Jazz Company. This was a club featuring live jazz musicians, and it opened on August 27th, 1993, and it was eventually replaced by Raglan Road Irish Pub and Restaurant in October 2005, which is kind of funny. That used to be jazz music, and then it
It's just
switched to
jazz
Irish
now.
music.
Now it's
So-
Irish.
All right, there's the XZFR Rock and Roller Dome, a short-lived club where guests could strap on skates and
that I
dance
don't
to rock and
remember.
roll. It was replaced by Rock and Roll Beach Club, a rock-themed dance club which featured live bands and usually was like local cover bands. It had opened on April 4th, 1990 and closed February 2nd, 2008. So kind of before
was
all of
there for
Pleasure
that
Island
one,
closed.
yes.
Yeah, but didn't make it to the very end. There was the Comedy Warehouse. This was a nightclub which featured an improv comedy troupe. It originally featured a parody show called Forbidden Disney, and the club soon attracted a large return audience. Also, its move to improv format after a couple of seasons kept the show quite fresh, so people were really interested in the fun comedy show, and this lasted all the way until the very end when it closed in 2008. There was also this one was interesting to me, the AMC Pleasure Island 24. In April 1990, these theaters opened with 10 screens as a Pleasure Island attraction, but in January 1998, AMC expanded to 24 screens and became a part of the West Side at the time, so it was no longer part of
I
Pleasure
remember the
Island.
smaller one.
Yeah, it became a part of the West Side. And then the name was changed to 2010 to AMC Theaters Downtown Disney in 24. And then it was changed again in 2015 to AMC Theaters Disney Springs 24. And that is, the AMC is still there.
That was the first time I ever saw those big seats where you
Oh,
went
yeah.
and had the big gigantic seats. And when you got your popcorn, they had the popcorn bar where you could put your own butter on the popcorn
Yeah.
and stuff like that. That was the first time I ever saw that.
Yeah,
was
was
when
that
we
AMC?
were there.
Yeah. All right. Up next is the Celebrate Tonight. This was an outdoor dance party featuring DJs and cast members known as the Party Team. This one was a bit more focused on families with children, and it took place in a large brick expanse between the former Comedy Warehouse and the Bet Stage, an area that is now renamed Celebration Plaza. And Celebration Plaza is is currently in Disney Springs today. It opened in April 2009 and closed June 26, 2010. So this technically actually lasted past when Pleasure Island closed, which is interesting. And last but not least, this was the West End stage. So this was a stage used for events every night. The roof of the stage was torn down in 2009, and most of the stage was taken to the Disney Boneyard with small parts intact. And this is where the Celebration Plaza is now today.
What about the Adventurers Club?
So we'll get to the Adventurers Club.
I was going to say, that was my favorite.
The Adventurers Club, I think, is considered a restaurant.
Oh, was it?
Why.
Okay, I didn't realize it was a restaurant. I guess I
Is
sat
it a
at the
restaurant?
bar.
Let me find.
I sat at the bar, so it could have been a restaurant. That's where the Edison is now, I think. That could have been a restaurant back then. I just didn't use it as a restaurant.
Wait,
I
hold
went
on.
there as a bar. Okay,
can't-
keep going.
I
Good.
can't find it in my notes, actually.
The Adventurers Club was my favorite club because they used to dress in costume like they were adventurers, off in the Asia and Africa, and with the hats and the khaki outfits with the belts and the things and the stuff and the boots. And they'd come up and talk to you like they were British adventurers, like out on a thing, talking to you like you were out there too as an adventurer. So I remember sitting at the bar talking to these people like as if it was in that era of when they used to do all of that safaris
Yeah,
and
no,
stuff.
here's the Adventurers Club. Sorry about that. It was in a different section, but I copied and pasted it into a different section by accident when I was
Okay.
doing this.
Okay.
But it is here, though. Yeah, it is considered one of the clubs. So let me just read this verbatim again.
Like I said, I didn't eat there.
The Adventurers Club was a 1930s-style British explorers club that featured a staff of flamboyant characters portrayed by improv actors.
see?
And the club lasted until the very end of Pleasure
Because it was the
Island.
most fun.
Yeah, I put
mean,
that
the
in the
other ones
wrong
were
section
fun
by
too
accident,
because
yeah.
you went, you could dance, you could listen to music, you could do all this stuff. But the Adventurers Club was like you were actually back there.
Yeah. All right. So there were lots of famous performers at the time who performed here in Pleasure Island. So I'm just going to read through the list. There are years associated from when these performers were performing there. And of course, there are a lot of many other local bands and local singers who'd also perform there as well. But some of like the I guess the top headliners was the New Kids on the Block, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, Blind Melon, Johnny Cash, Boy George, NSYNC, Savage Garden, Christina Aguilera, Hootie and the Blowfish, the B-52s, Styx, and Duran Duran.
Yeah. Well, back then they were all
That's what
big
I'm saying,
bands.
all the big 1990s and early 2000s.
Usually they
bands
usually
and singers.
performed at the midnight stage where they used to do the
Yeah, the
fireworks
West End
and
stage, yeah, for New Year's Eve.
Countdown for New Year's Eve
Yeah.
every night. I miss it. It was
Shit on my
fun.
face from the donut.
It was fun.
All right, let's get to some food now. So what food could be served? All right, so first up we have Fulton's Crab House. This was a seafood restaurant which is operated by Levy
right.
Restaurants, and it had opened it originally opened on May 1st, 1990, and then it eventually became the Empress Lily. Oh, sorry, it opened as the Empress Lily. Sorry, I'm reading my notes incorrectly. But then became Fulton's Crab House in 1977. The Empress Lily, which again, Fulton's Crab House, Empress Lily, same area. It was an authentic recreation of a 19th century paddle steamer boat in the Rococo style. It was operated by Disney and named in homage of Walt Disney's wife Lillian. And then upon becoming the Fulton's Crab House, the boat lost its paddle, wheel, and smokestacks. But it was divided into 4 separate restaurants and lounges, including the Baton Rouge Lounge, the Steerman's Quarters, the Fisherman's Deck, and the Empress Room. There was also the Fireworks Factory, which my mom said she had remembered, and was later changed to a club. This is a pyrotechnics-themed restaurant also operated by Levy Restaurants. According to the island's fictional backstory, Merriweather Pleasure manufactured fireworks in the building until one of his cigars caused an explosion.
That story I remember.
Yep, the restaurant was decorated with authentic pyrotechnic props from the Grucci family, and it operated from 1989 to 1997. And then again, it was replaced by that Motion Dance Club.
We went there with you guys. We went there to eat.
Oh, really? That must
It
have
was
been
along the water. I remember sitting outside, like
Yeah.
sitting in a room that was
I must have
along
been. I was born in 1996, and it was
Yeah.
closed in 1997.
Yeah,
so-
probably the first time we went
The
there.
first time I went. Yeah, I went to Fireworks Factory. That's crazy. All right, there was also Merriweather's Market. This was a food court that operated from 1989 to 1993, and it was eventually replaced also by Raglan Road. So Raglan Road, again, that area was quite
that whole
big.
area.
So so that was
Raglan Road takes up a big area now.
yeah,
with
so it
Cooks
kind of
of
got
Dublin
replaced by
and
two
all
things.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah. In 2005. There was also Planet Hollywood. It was a Pleasure Island attraction when it opened in 1994. In 1998, it moved to the west side, and then 2017, it was replaced by the Planet Hollywood Observatory, which is what we see it today. There was the Hill Street Diner, which served pizza, hot dogs, hot deli sandwiches, french fries, and assorted salads. And Desserts, Gifts, which was cappuccino, espressos, pastries, frozen yogurt, and soft serve ice cream with toppings. Getting the full espresso and
I don't
ice cream
remember
bar
food.
there.
I remember clubs. I don't remember the food.
Well, there was also shopping. So the shopping, some of the OG shopping things with the Superstar Studios. This was a long time make your own video studio, which was eventually replaced by Curl by Samuel Duval in 2008. This was a long time ago.
See, I remember Curl.
Yeah, now Curl
I remember
is
when
closed as
Curl
well.
first came in, but I
Yeah.
don't remember what was there before. Okay.
There's also Jessica's, a store featuring the character Jessica Rabbit from the 1988 film Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Everyone knows Jessica Rabbit. It opened in 1990 and closed in 1992. However, a two-sided 30-foot neon sign of Jessica Rabbit with a swinging leg and moving sequins hung over the building until the store's closing. In 1993, the sign was relocated to the West End stage where it resided until 2006. So I wonder where it went to. I don't remember it actually.
Yeah, I don't
from my
remember that
memories, but-
statue. Okay.
yeah, so I don't know. There was the Avigator Supply. This was a store that was located close to the Adventurers Club, and it sold aviation and adventure gear branded with the Avigators logo. It also sold the Adventurers Club and Indiana Jones merchandise, and it was eventually replaced by Mouse House, which then was replaced by Paradiso 37.
Okay.
All right, then a few more stores here. I'll just run through these quickly. There's Changing Attitudes, which sold clothing and unusual gifts. Doodles, which is a Pleasure Island memorabilia.
I remember that one. Okay.
It says it sold graphic t-shirts and trendy gifts. Hammer and Fire, which was handcrafted jewelry, accessories, and unusual gifts. All of these say unusual gifts, which is so
Yes.
funny. What were these unusual
Ooh,
gifts? The Mouse House, which I just say, yeah, Disney t-shirts, plush animals, and gifts.
I don't know, but I probably bought something from every one of them.
Suspended Animation, which was Disney animated cells, posters, prints, and lithographs. DTV, which was modern Disney fashions from silks and sequins to painted jeans. And Music Legends, clothing, books, music, and music memorabilia. All right, so over time, there was a lot of changes that were made to Pleasure Island as the years went on. So the first set of major renovations was in 2006. So in 2006, they attempted to renovate Pleasure Island because of a declining attendance. These changes included closing and dismantling of the West End stage and the Hub stage. And since at this point there was no longer an entry fee, the free entertainment provided by these stages was attracting large groups of local teams, which, in quotes, was considered undesirable.
Yes,
That's what it
yeah,
said.
sure.
The area that formerly occupied the West End stage is the location of the new pedestrian bridge to downtown Disney West Side and provided visitors with a greater line of sight view from Pleasure Island to the West Side. Now the West Side still kind of exists technically, but it's all a little bit different because now it's Disney Springs. So yeah, we're walking through history right now. Right now we're in 2006. The removal of the Hub stage opened a small area to view of the lagoon located behind Pleasure Island, which also included a dock. And then in the late June 2006, the life-size Jessica Rabbit sign above the facility of Pleasure Island tonight was removed. I wonder what happened to it. The construction of new docks allowed for boat transportation to link the West Side, Pleasure Island, the Marketplace, and Disney resorts across the lagoon up to Sassagoula River.
I remember those boats. They used to go back and forth.
Yeah, I do too, actually, surprisingly. All right, so then more changes happened from 2007 to 2009. So in January 1st, 2007, the dance clubs reverted to a policy which required guests to be age 21 or older. Minors could still visit the Comedy Warehouse and the Adventurers Club, as well as shops and restaurants on the island, but they did have to be accompanied by someone who's 21 or older. That is crazy to me that before then, you could go into the clubs and not be 21 yet, which is wild.
Because if you had to order a drink, they had to card you.
Yeah, I know, they just carded you.
Right, so
but
you could
in-
dance, you could see, you could do whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but in
you just
present
couldn't
day,
drink, right?
Yeah, like when I was a teenager stuff in like the later 2010s and everything, it's like you couldn't go into any clubs if you weren't 21, like even if you just wanted to go dance,
Right.
like you just weren't allowed to do that. So the fact that you were able to until 2007, I was just surprised by that when I read that. All right, in late 2008, Disney announced that there were 6 remaining nightclubs at Pleasure Island would be closing on September 28th, 2008 to make room for additional family-oriented entertainment. Very sad.
It was so sad when they announced that.
So on June 27th, 2008, customers who had purchased annual passes to Pleasure Island could receive a prorated refund for their purchase. Again, all the clubs are closing, later that year. A Disney official stated that Pleasure Island nightclub closures were in response to customers who wanted more broad-based dining and retail opportunities. So on September 27th, 2008, this was Pleasure Island's very last night. Among the capacity crowd were many of its past actors, cast members, some of whom started to line up at 9 in the morning to ensure that they could enter in that night.
I could see that.
That would be quite emotional and quite busy for many of those cast members and actors who were there for many years. Highlights included Frankie and the West End Boys playing on the waterfront stage, and at midnight, New Year's Eve was celebrated one last time. Very sad if you think about it. Fireworks show was complemented by popular songs heard on the island over the years, and the final song played in Mannequins was "Everybody's Free to Feel Good" by Rosala. Am I saying that right? Rosala?
I don't know. I don't know who they are.
And then with that, Pleasure Island was officially shut down.
Shut down.
So sad.
Memories gone. See, things just...
And it said, in classic Disney fashion, by the next day, many of the club's signs and logos were already removed.
Oh, of course. Yes. Immediate. Close down. 5 minutes later, the whole place looks like a ghost town.
So sad. I was like, oh my God.
They do move fast there, don't they?
We always joke that it's like Christmas is over. All right, trees are gone. All of those decorations gone overnight. You're like, what happened here?
Yeah.
It's like it comes up overnight, it disappears overnight. So
well, Pleasure Island was, I mean, like I said, it said it was closing, and they say that obviously it was not making the money. I could see that in the fact of how they market to, like, it's families, a lot of them coming.
Yeah.
Like when we had you kids, we couldn't go there and really enjoy that.
Yeah.
You could go during the day, you could go through the shops, you could eat at the restaurants that were there, but it wasn't like you could take really good advantage of it at that point. And at night, to go in there, what are you going to do with two little kids if, there's a dance club?
Like your kids want to go to bed.
Yeah.
Disney in itself is definitely, like, I mean, like the parks and everything definitely caters more to families and kids.
Yes.
So either you were just catering to the locals in the general Florida area, which isn't necessarily bad, but I mean, like, I would not say Central Florida is like the night scene the way New York City or Los Angeles is. So it's like you have a different clientele just living down there.
Yeah,
in a
I could see what they have there now. I mean, how they've expanded and done what they have there now, the restaurants, the shopping, they're definitely, and they do still have entertainment. It's just not the same type of entertainment.
In February 2009, there was rumors of a partial reopening of Pleasure Island. Disney then announced that 3 of the former clubs would become available for private party rentals. So Motion, Soundstage Club, and the Adventurers Club were available for rental through the end of March 2010, which I thought was interesting.
I remember that.
Yeah, that people can rent it out or something. I think that'd be kind of cool to rent them out if you were.
Well, especially a lot of companies have conferences and stuff down there.
And then in 2009, a building that previously housed stores and fast food restaurants was completely renovated by eBrands, and then it eventually became what we know as now as Paradiso 37. All right, so then what happened to Pleasure Island afterwards? So Pleasure Island first turned into Hyperion Wharf. This is what I remember from like my childhood, sort of. That's what the area was called. So November 10th, 2010, Disney announced Hyperion, or I hope I'm saying that right, Hyperion Wharf would be the new name for that area of what was Pleasure Island. The new theme of the island would be an early 20th century nautical warehouse district. They had spent $3.2 million in new lighting features that were going to be added along the waterfront and the entertainment area, as well as a lighthouse structure, which still stands today. At the time when they had reopened Hyperion Wharf, there were no names for any of like the restaurants or shops yet, and there was no indication out that any of the former clubs would reopen, and that is still true to this day. None of the former clubs did reopen. However, permits and plans showed that buildings which were formerly housed as Motion and Rock and Roll Beach Club, the Adventurous Soundstage, and the Bet Soundstage Club would all be demolished, which is quite sad if you think about it. All those buildings were literally just kind of taken down and redone.
Yeah, all that stuff.
The buildings which formerly housed the Comedy Warehouse, 8 Tracks, and Mannequins clubs would remain, and this demolition took place between December 2010 and February 2011. Then early in 2010, the bridge from downtown Disney Marketplace to Pleasure Island was widened to accommodate a new, wider pedestrian pathway across the island. On December 3rd, 2012, Disney allowed the trademark for Hyperion Wharf to expire, and then renovation plans for the area were announced as part of Downtown Disney to be redeveloped in 2013. And then in 2014, Disney closed access to the Pleasure Island portion of Downtown Disney, and again, additional retailers and new themed restaurants were being brought into the RIP mix. And this was when Disney decided not to use the name Hyperion Wharf anymore, and that is when it turned into what we know it today, which is The Landing. So in April 2015, Disney reopened again that Pleasure Island area as the middle link of the Downtown Disney shopping area and the marketplace area, now known as The Landing. The former dance clubs, Jazz Club, and Adventurers Club are no longer part of the concept. Again, very sad. And instead, the area focuses on retail and restaurants, though one restaurant circuitously links the new area to its predecessor, which is Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar, which was opened by pilot Jock Lindsay, who appeared in the 1981 Indiana Jones film of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and he was a member of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, which
took him a while to do that, though.
Yeah, which remember
that was one of the
Meriwether.
last things that they added over there.
Yeah, which Meriwether was also part of that Sea Adventurers Club. A Fez House and Skipper Canteen in Magic Kingdom's Adventureland establishes that Pleasure Island founder Meriwether Adam Pleasure was also a member of Sea, with his Adventurers Club retroactively serving as his own private chapter of the society. So Sea is actually now considered part of the Adventurers Club that you see in Skipper Canteen, and that's also part of Jungle Cruise as well. So the lore sort of lives on very loosely.
Right, they kept it alive. They just put it in just
yeah, like if
places.
you know the backstory, you know the backstory, and if you don't, you just skip over it and you just know about the Adventurers Club. I feel like they could definitely do more with the Adventurers Club even in present day. Like I feel like people would be really into that if they did more about this like elusive, Adventurers Club type thing. But I don't know, I guess we'll see. All right, so what is there now? So there's a lot there now. If we're being honest, I could read through the list. I thought about doing it, but there's a lot there now. It's mainly all restaurants, shops, and bars for the most part.
Yeah.
So some
we can
like
do that on another whole podcast.
I know, right? Just go through each one.
Springs.
So some of the big ones I would just point out again is Paradiso 37, the Edison, the Boathouse, Raglan Road still stands, and Marimoto Asia, which is one of my mom's favorites.
Right.
And then there's some shops like Gideon's Bakehouse now exists in that area. The Art of Shaving, which my brother once got shaven and cut there. Also, the Paddlefish Boat is also still around, right? Yeah, Paddlefish.
Yeah, like I said, it just leaves out so much. There's so much there that
Yeah, and even the stores there now have closed and reopened. There's
yes,
like the
and
Ganacheries
some of them
over
that
there.
have been open for the longest time closed. Didn't Curl just close too? I think Curl just closed.
Yeah, Curl closed, yeah.
A lot of them that were open are now closed, and they're going to be having new stores in there again.
That's what I'm saying. Some of these things still had like Portobello's on like their list. And it's like Portobello's actually closed. And reopened
We used
as a
to go there
different
all the
Italian
time. That
restaurant.
place
Yeah.
closed.
So a
Now
lot of
it's-
this area has reopened and closed. I feel like there are more stages, and even now too, there's more area like small areas where there'll be more like music performers. Like they'll just stand with their guitars. and
places
start
to hang
playing.
out, right?
Yeah, like there's definitely more stuff. There's more like little pop-up stands too, like just like a little pop-up kiosk that sells like maybe phone cases or something like
Right.
very specific.
They also added food trucks in.
Yeah, there's the food trucks now too, which is there. So I feel like they've added so much more to this overall area that I think is definitely more of like a money maker, I would say.
It is for them, yes, definitely.
for
And it's
sure.
still, as much as Pleasure Island was fun and it's gone, I have to say Disney Springs does hold a lot of draw to go to.
For sure.
And to hang out. Because you can go have a really good meal, you can go shopping, you can go listen to music, you can go sit and just be by the river. There's just so much you can do. You can go for a drink in one of the restaurants. There's just so much you can do that it is still a draw.
Yeah, no, for sure. So there's definitely a lot to do there. I mean, like we both love Disney Springs, even the area that Pleasure Island used to be in.
Yeah.
Again, now at the landing, I mean, like we still go to the room,
Yeah.
we still walk through. It's still a lot of fun to walk through. I vaguely remember too when I was a child that because I couldn't walk through Pleasure Island a lot because I was very young, or you had to pay that fee to get in, and we didn't want to pay the fee. Like the awkwardness of trying to walk around Pleasure Island to get into the other side of what was
You had to
on,
walk
like,
along the
east
parking
side.
lot. Yeah.
Yes, I do remember that too, which is kind of funny. And I remember as well that I knew like I couldn't go in there. So when the landing eventually, or like Hyperion Wharf eventually opened, I remember it being very interesting to walk through for the first time and not really understand. Like I never understood what Pleasure Island was until I was an adult. But it was interesting to see the area that it was like closed off for so long. Like you had to like pay that.
Right, because if you
special
went
fee.
through it one way and then it started to sell their tickets, you had to come out through the other way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, but yeah, sad times. I know a lot of people have said too that they're sad that Pleasure Island closed and that they wish something like it would reopen again. But I guess we'll see if Disney ever does something like that. Maybe they'll do, I think it would be fun if they did something like the Adventurers Club in Adventureland. Like if they had something like that.
Yeah, see, I think that it should be in the Adventureland or even in Hollywood Studios over by where
the
Indiana Jones
thing
is, like a
yeah.
nice a restaurant over there that kind of has people that, I mean, they do immersive restaurants like Rainforest Cafe and T-Rex and different places that have the dinosaurs and the things. And, Yak and Yeti's supposed to make you feel like you're in the Himalayas.
Well, I almost feel like Skipper Canteen has that potential
Yes.
if they hired actors to walk around Skipper Canteen to like provide that.
Because when you walk
immersiveness.
around,
I
it is
don't know.
interesting in Skipper Cantina
Yeah,
to
there's
look
so
at the
much
stuff on the walls.
Yeah.
If you sit in the library, we didn't sit in the library when we ate there last time, but if you sit in the library room, there's all the books and the different things that he collected. So yeah, I think that if they put a restaurant like that with actors who actually are in character, because I like to do that even just not in Disney.
Yeah.
Like when we went up to Rhode Island and we went to see one of the mansions, I picked the one that had the people that were in period costume because it's just more interesting to see that.
Yeah. No, again, that's kind of what you're going there is that for that fun Disney detail. So yeah, so I guess we'll see what Disney decides to do next. I wonder the future of the landing. I feel like for now it's probably pretty set. They just spent all that money just less than 5 years
I
ago
think
to
they
do
got
this huge
other things
renovation.
on their minds right now.
But yeah, so that's kind of all I have for Pleasure Island right now. Anything else any other memories that you have of it?
No, Pleasure Island for me, the memory was the 4th of July, the New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
I remember the stage. I remember standing there. I remember seeing the fireworks and the band playing and just being like, oh my God, this is so much fun.
Yeah.
At the time. Now I probably wouldn't. I'd be like, it's midnight. midnight, I'm tired.
Time to go
But when I was young and having a good time, like I said, it must have been when Daddy and I went down there that weekend we were there on St. Patrick's Day weekend. So it was even more festive and more things going on. So like I said, it was just fun. It was just absolutely just fun to be there. And like I said, I could see them because you know what it is that I don't remember eating. I remember being at the bar and having a drink and talking to the people at the Adventures Club and different, but I don't remember eating because I don't think we did a lot of eating. And that's the difference now, I think. I think that's one of the reasons is that when people were going there and listening to music and dancing
So did you have to pay for the drinks when you got in?
Yes.
So,
you had to pay for the drinks. Yeah, you didn't get that for free. All the entertainment, all the stuff that was going on was to allow you to be in there. But the problem was that, like I said, I don't remember eating because I don't think I did a lot of eating. And I think that's where they lost a lot of money is that people were so busy doing everything else and listening to the music and drinking
Well, yeah,
and doing.
I guess you couldn't go to those restaurants if you didn't pay that entrance fee or something.
I guess, well, yeah, if you had to go in and sit at the restaurants, yes, once they started charging, you got a wristband. So you couldn't go into Pleasure Island without the wristband. So if you were busy listening to music and dancing and doing, you weren't spending the money shopping and you weren't spending the money eating. You were spending the money enjoying Pleasure Island. So I think that's where they lost a lot of their money.
No, for sure, which makes sense though. So that's interesting.
So it's an interesting thing to remember. So that's my vision. My memory, most of my memory was Adventures Club, talking to the people, and the stage.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, well, I guess we'll transition to a little bit of Disney news.
Okay.
So today, the day that this podcast comes out is Journey of Water has officially opened, which is kind of funny because honestly, I feel like it's been open for months now. Like I feel like we talk about this every week. They had a soft opening last week. There's been so many previews for it. I know most people I know have already gone to see if they're in the Florida area. Right. But technically today, October 16th, is the official opening of Journey of Water. And we are both very excited to see it.
Yeah, we'll see it.
I've heard too from many people to say to try to do it during the day and at night because it's two different experiences with the lighting at night.
Oh yeah, we
So
definitely
people
have
are
to
saying
walk
if
through
you
both
can
times.
try to do it twice if you're able to. So we'll definitely plan on that. It is only mid-October, but all the Christmas merchandise is entering into the parks. There's new Munchkins, Spirit jerseys, Crocs, clothing, ears, everything. So it's kind of exciting because I really love Christmas stuff. A lot of skiing related stuff too, which I think is really funny. A lot of like Mickey Minnie skiing on Spirit jerseys, but yeah, we don't go.
Well, I
skiing
think
now,
what they're
so.
trying to do is people want to buy this stuff and bring it home, so they figure people are going to go home to their
Yeah,
places
true.
and
That's
they
what I'm
want
saying.
them to be wearing Disney
You're here
stuff.
for like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, and you're not going to come back in December, but you can buy your Christmas gifts now.
Right,
so.
which is funny because years ago, I remember that it was wintertime when we went there and they lost your luggage, I think it was. And we had to buy stuff. And it was hard to find stuff because it was off season. And they didn't have off season stuff in season. Like it was cold, and you needed to get cold stuff. But it was stupid to buy summer stuff because then we'd have to take it home to the cold. So I think they got smart and realized.
Have more of, all year round.
Yes, that people want to buy stuff that, okay, I don't just wear it in Florida. I want to go home and wear it at home. So I think they're getting smart enough to
which
people to
makes
say,
sense,
I could wear this when I go skiing. It'll be fun. I'm going to wear my Disney stuff.
Yeah.
So
No, definitely. There is a new Kate Spade Disney collection. It looks very luxe, almost like a Louis Vuitton type of design, but with 4 spades instead. So it's very interesting that Kate Spade is breaking into a new design like that. I feel like trying to upscale their own design because Kate Spade is a luxury brand, but it's not as luxury as Louis Vuitton. Like I think it's considered more of like a mid brand technically in the luxury world because like for instance, a bag from Kate Spade can maybe be between $500 to $600. A bag from Louis Vuitton is like $2,000 to $5,000. That is drastically a big difference. And I think Kate Spade maybe is trying to break into that more higher luxury type of design. So it's kind of interesting, but the designs are kind of cute if you like those types of designs. And lastly, there is a new vampire Stitch cake at Disney's Polynesian Village Resort. It is so cute. I love it so much. It is so cute. I hope they keep the Stitch cake around even without the little vampire teeth. It's just like 2 little pieces of fondant. It's nothing crazy.
I know. They can just take the teeth off.
Yeah.
Put a little Christmas hat on them.
I know, right? It's like every
It'll be a
season.
Christmas little treat.
And when we go, we're going in December, so we'll get to see all the holiday stuff, which will be fun. All right, so now for some Disney birthdays. So tomorrow, October 17th, is Julieta, Peppa, and Bruno's Madrigal's birthday. So happy birthday to them. It's funny, when I saw this, I got confused why there are 3 people all at once, and I forgot that they're triplets. So I'm like, oh, it makes sense their birthdays
It's
on
all
the
the same day.
But for a second, I was like, why do they all have the same birthday? And I'm like, oh yeah,
I've
they're
only
triplets.
seen that once, so I forget that what the story line is.
And then I thought I'd also mention too that today, the day the podcast comes out, October 16th, is my Uncle Brendan's birthday as well. So happy birthday to my Uncle Brendan. Yeah, I don't think he ever listens to the podcast. But in case someone in the family is, just know I do know today is Uncle Brendan's birthday, so happy birthday to him too. And that leaves us with our final segment, which is a Disney memory, which you've actually already shared. I feel like most of your Disney memories already.
I did. I already did my memories. You can do yours.
In general, I just remember walking around Disney's, I was going to say Disney Springs, but what it was back in the day called Downtown Disney. Just in a general sense, I always loved walking around downtown Disney. I always thought it was really fun. And we'll definitely do more episodes on things that used to be in Downtown Disney. I think our next one will be on Disney Quest, because I think Disney Quest is a very interesting thing to also go over. Yeah, but it's just interesting to see how Disney has evolved throughout the years and how it continues to adapt throughout the years according to what's going on. Even at the time when Pleasure Island was opened, they opened a club just for country and Western music because that was trending at the time in the world. So I feel like that just goes to show why Disney has lasted the test of time, because they know how to adapt with the times and continue to evolve with their audience and pay attention to who's coming, who's willing to spend, a certain dollar price to do whatever activities that they have. From like that business standpoint, it's like, well, I mean, like clearly it's working, It's like, yes, they have a loyal fan base, but if they were doing something no one would be interested in, I highly doubt people still be going anyway.
Yeah, as much as we don't like change, you have to figure out that everything changes, everything evolves, everything gets newer.
Yeah, and that's what creates, the Disney memories. And also that creates room for new things. Like I was showing my mom that like in Pleasure Island, one of the buildings that's still there is now Marimoto Asia. And that's one of my mom's favorite restaurants in all of Disney is Marimoto Asia. But if Pleasure Island hadn't closed, we may not have gotten Marimoto Asia to what it is today. Although it's kind of sad, I guess they didn't have an Asian themed club. I guess that wasn't trending in the times of the 80s and 70s.
No, the only place you could get Asian food was when Epcot opened up.
Yeah, when Epcot opened China and Japan. So, although I guess maybe Animal Kingdom had to have something.
When Animal Kingdom opened up. Animal Kingdom, but before then, it was just Epcot and Magic Kingdom. There was really,
not a whole lot, I guess. Yeah. So, that's kind of interesting, actually. I guess there wasn't a lot of Asian population coming to Central Florida. But I mean, like now definitely is, especially with, palates definitely changing over the years. So, yeah, but that was just kind of my memory. Just interesting to see how it's evolved throughout the years. Anything else you want to add for our Pleasure Island deep dive? Your number one thing that you said you missed from Disney's past?
Yes, that was the number one thing. I did miss it.
Would you still go today if it was open? Like, yes. If someone said it was open, just as you remember in the 1990s.
Oh, I would. I would go, definitely. Because it was just so much fun. I mean, I forced myself to stay up. I think, the joke is that if you're busy and you're doing, I don't get tired. If you're sitting around doing nothing, then at 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'm like, okay, it's 10 o'clock.
Well, you'd be busy listening to music, you'd be dancing.
Right. You'd be out there doing stuff,
shopping.
You'd be having a great time.
Although we say that because we went to one of those, the midnight thing at Hollywood Studios for DVC members, the Moonlight Magic.
God, yes.
And we were up pretty late. And even then we were busy and doing stuff. My mom and dad were like, we're tired, time to leave.
Because you know what it is? When you're all done, it's not like, especially those who go to Disney know, that when you're all done doing what you're doing, it's not like you just say, oh, okay, good night. No, you have to travel miles to get where you
It takes a long time to make it back to the hotel.
You have to travel miles to get back to your hotel. And for some reason, we always get the room that's at the end of the hallway. So it's another mile once you get to the hotel to get to your room. So whenever you're doing these things, you have to say to yourself, okay, I now have to spend another hour and a half to get to where I have to go. So what time is it? But yes, I would definitely go back.
Well, thanks so much, everyone, for listening to this week's podcast. Make sure you're following us on social media. We are currently Spaceship Earth Design everywhere. That will also be linked in the description below. Make sure to give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and also if you're listening on YouTube, to give us a like and comment below. Do you remember Pleasure Island? Have you gone before? After listening to this podcast, would you go right now if it was open right now? I would love to know. I will also have a dedicated Instagram post too that you can let us know your thoughts. So yeah, thanks so much for listening. And we'll definitely do more Disney history deep dives in the future because it's really fun to learn about.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Bye-bye.
We'll see y'all real soon.